Okay.
Okay, we're good?
Yep.
All right, and we're live. Okay, at this time at 6:05, I will call to order the January 21st workshop for Columbia Borough Planning Commission. Roll call, please.
Chairperson Mary Wickenheiser,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Tiffany Lynn,
Here.
Secretary Brad Lynn,
Here.
Member Justin Evans,
Here.
Member Marilyn Kress Hartman,
Marilyn is ill.
Member Nathan Roach,
Here.
Member Deb Leclaire.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, we have before us, we did not, at our last meeting, approve the minutes from our November meeting because we did not have a quorum at that time. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes first from the November 19th meeting. Do I have such a motion? I have a motion from Tiff. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Justin. All in favor?
Aye.
We then have the minutes from the December meeting. Do I have a motion regarding those minutes?
So moved.
I have a motion from Brad. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Justin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. I will start this discussion on the McGinnis text amendments by letting you know what happened at the January 7th council workshop. The letter that Derek suggested be sent to council was sent and received by them. And I will tell you, they were questioning why we sent a letter. Why we couldn't just communicate to them. This was the letter that was sent. And Eric is again the liaison between us and council. So it got sorted out. I said this was not my idea. This was Derek's idea, that we keep a record of what we're doing. Ask you for your direction. So part of that meeting had to do, there were other members of boards there. And Nathan attended. Nathan and I were back there. I ended up, it was good having Nathan there to back me up. So what came out of this was they were asking what Planning Commission needs in the way of staff help. Mainly they were looking at agendas, they were looking at minutes, what our need was of staff. So I relayed that with the agenda, we definitely needed staff, that there was no way that developers would be contacting volunteer members of the Planning Commission directly. I said, we need staff. I relayed how I work with staff. I come in here like the second week of the month. We sit down, we go over the agendas, we set them up. Staff prepares the packets. They're taken to our homes. They're also posted. As far as the minutes have always been done by staff. I don't know, as long as I've been on planning, that any member, I think maybe going back to Roseanne Robinson, she may have done her own minutes.
She may
We had
have,
our own minutes during the work sessions when we first started this.
Right.
yeah.
But then they
for-
even
It's
they were
always-
thinking of a request, yeah.
It's always been done by
And the
staff.
thing is, now they basically have a format that they want these minutes done in. So I said, really, we need to have staff to do the minutes. And then I got into the meat of them about the McGinnis letter. You know, what do you want? And what I was using as my guideline, and I told them, there was a document. It was McGinnis Airfield Related Property Site Inventory and Analysis Report that was done by ELA, and I think it was July of 21. And there is reference in there on page 21 regarding land use ordinance provisions. And I read these out as to what I was looking at that as my outline, because I was not getting any other direction what they want from planning. And part of it had to do with, you read this, and I did make copies of it. I just made a copy of the page that whoops, that's my copy. Yeah, it says land use ordinance provisions there. And I actually read these out to council at that time. And if you read over these, one of the things that was discussed is that we not lump the light business, which is what it is now, into the industrial. That we keep that, since we're looking at this as more of an industrial park,
It's a special district, yeah.
as a special district, to not lump it in with light industrial or general industrial, but to keep it as a separate zoning district. One of the things, if you read through this, they are actually mentioning the possibility of residential use. The idea of what we're looking for in our downtown. You know, business or something on the first floor and residential above. And the feedback I got from council was there was no way they want to see anything residential in that area. Is that what you got, Nathan?
Yeah.
And Paul was there.
Well, except for maybe one.
Yeah, they were very specific. There was some concerns about if you have residents, you have children in the area, but then it was also brought up that you're putting a play area back there, you know, and walking trails, which are going to be used by children. But I did want to let you know that that was one thing I got feedback on that was in this ELA study, that they felt they did not want any kind of residential use with that property. That was the only feedback I got from council.
Okay, so we know
After
that.
I read this. The question was asked of me, what does the comp plan have to say about this? So that was another thing I went into. You know what the comp plan does? The comp plan references this. That's the only reference to the uses back there.
Gotcha.
So
So this is the
I
guide.
wasn't finding anything in the comp plan to send us, to give us any more specific than what this is giving us. So that's where we are right now. And
What do I remember Derek telling us last week? So they're trying to re-subdivide the lots, right? So to put it all together, get some of the other loose pieces, divide off the conservation area, that sort of thing. So that's happening, right?
right,
So all of the area that's going to be the business park is going to be a big area that the zoning should align with the lot.
right.
But does the text, I mean, he talked about text amendment. The concern was that what's in there now isn't going to allow or promote what it is that the borough's trying to do with the business park, right? That was what I
Right.
got from him, from a kind of a technical end of things.
Right, and I had an email from Derek today asking if Davidson need to be here tonight, and I said, let us work through this, see what we come up with tonight, and possibly for our February meeting, that we might need Jessica or someone from CS Davidson here. And what I'm seeing, land use ordinance provisions, it seems like it's more what's in the tables than what is in any text.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, was there any more to this?
No,
Or is it all on
that-
this page?
That was it.
Okay.
Do you think there's a need to see the lots when that's finished before any of this is done?
I'm thinking they're looking at us to come up with this before they would decide on lots out there.
Before they divide it up.
Yeah, before they would
Yeah.
divide it up. And as a note, they were finally able to record that subdivision plan
Oh, okay.
from
Good.
September, that all of the adjoining property owners had the sign.
That's right.
They finally were able to have that recorded.
Well, the
So-
two easiest ones would be the last two.
Right.
To come up with something that says no residential in that area.
I
Right,
think it is, yeah, I think what they're saying is it's prohibited. And then they're
Right.
saying, well, maybe add it in there because you got people that live next to where they work, or it's like second floor or
Right.
whatever. But, council seemed to say no, so that one's already done. You're right. That one's-
And then the
it's
last
big.
one would be to allow parking as a principal use,
That's
would be
another
an easy one as well.
right.
Because the problem is you have to know which lot that's going to apply to,
Mhm.
or you'll have one big parking.
Yeah,
Yeah. What's the, I guess maybe this is more of a rhetorical question, but what is the strategy for the borough to sell it? Like sell off areas as it goes, or is it gonna like sell to a business park developer to do it?
Eric, what is their plan? Is it a case of the borough doing the remediation and then letting it out to a developer?
Best offer.
The best offer.
So if somebody comes in and wants to buy a piece of land, a section of it, and they are well above what we want to sell for, sure, we'll sell for. But I believe the goal is to do the infrastructure and then I'll let it to it.
Okay, so to like lay out streets, water, sewer, all that. So that would be, but if somebody came by and said, I'll buy it for whatever, and the council said this is good enough.
I know when we first bought it, we had a bunch of businesses wanting pieces.
Yeah,
I think we're swaying more towards just turning it over to like High Steel or somebody.
Yeah.
And let them just buy it.
got it.
They don't run in, get back on tax rolls.
So if that's the case, we should still move ahead with looking at these changes? And do we also look at things such as buffering for adjoining residences and things like that?
There should be a
Whatever
buffer.
way you want it.
Okay, what is going to be done out there this year?
Hopefully in April, we start remediation and clearing the fill out, removing the buildings, the existing buildings are still there, and starting to flatten it out.
Okay, so my understanding is they need to scrape that, do something with it, with the soil, and then replace it. And that is for the entire area, not just specific spots or,
That maybe will answer better, but I believe the two airstrips are heavily sand filled. The one airstrip behind towards the back of the well to start with. And it's heavily, farm around that track is heavily sandfilled. Those are cabinet areas that need a lot of fill. I believe the majority of it's just gonna be scraped and
Okay. So you're kind of, that area you're talking about with the airfield is kind of, we always called it the island there. There's like an island between the two airstrips. And that would be the area between the island and the quarry back in there,
Yeah.
which is back kind of in where the conservation area is,
not that part.
not that far back.
The conservation area won't be touched at all. With the
Okay,
exception of maybe a trail.
all right. Yeah, because there's supposed to be a trail back through there.
Right.
So what this ELA study is saying is to look at reducing setback requirements, except when adjacent to residential uses. Relatively narrow build-to lines instead of 30-foot setbacks.
So there you go. There's one of it.
You have the map of the,
No,
Oh,
no, I do not.
like the master plan or whatever.
Oh, you have access to it.
Mm,
I believe right around the residential houses is designated parking area. That's correct. The setbacks are only really kicking around. Really, the middle.
And since we don't know where streets or anything are going yet,
We kind of did the two plans that we have, one's with,
it sounds like I should have brought my file that's this thick with all of the McGinnis stuff in it.
One's with the roads, one's without.
Right,
Say they need more space.
The streets are basically the same, I think the one may go back farther without the drum.
yeah, one almost goes back to 13th Street,
Because it cuts airflow down,
right.
right. That's without the drum.
So there's like two ways to play it. One is if the borough is going to go through, put in the infrastructure, you're basically laying out the streets. It's going to match one of the two plans probably.
Right,
And
exactly.
so the zoning is going to be kind of based off of that. If the borough is going to lot it out, based on businesses that say I need 4 acres or whatever. And if the other is you find high real estate or whatever who does these light business parks, then they're probably going to have an idea of what they're trying to do. It's not like you just want to amend the ordinance to do what they want to do, but if they're the experts in doing business parks, that would help. They say,
Yeah, I don't.
you'd hate to do all this work and then they come in and say,
Yeah.
here's an idea, and council's like, yeah, this is what we want to see this take shape, and then you make the zoning like that.
Well, the last thing you want to do is have them want to sell to a business, and now the borough is telling them you need to come to a zoning hearing in order to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Right.
That's-
We're trying to make it smooth for the businesses, the type of businesses there to come in, basically plug and play. The developer or the borough's already done all the infrastructure work in there. Just going from
I
there,
would say-
stormwater's in and everything.
If you look at it as light industrial, which could be anything light, like this, like manufacturing, light, to warehouse. The biggest goal we want to do is protect the residents. And that's the area that you want to build along, area wise. Outside of that, two roads are basically like each other.
Did the borough get any funding to help with doing any of the work?
Yeah, we have bioscreen.
Got it.
So the sooner we can sell it, the sooner we pay it off and move on.
Gotcha.
soon as I can.
If you look at light business and light general industrial, there aren't that many differences looking at the tables. You know, a lot of the things that are permitted in LI and GI are also permitted in LB. This is nice, what Alex did.
Yes.
That's very nice. If he's still around, tell him it was very much appreciated.
Okay. I will do that.
Yet there's not a whole lot of difference.
Didn't seem like it.
No.
Adult uses and
Yeah.
airport,
Yeah,
of course. Boat repair.
yeah, the airport's only allowed in light business. But since we did away with our airport ordinance, we
Yeah, right.
have to redo that again.
Yeah, I remember that.
What are you seeing there, Justin?
Those some minor things like car wash,
Mhm,
which is special exception, communication antenna,
right,
towers, flea market
yeah. I
is
saw
not
that.
allowed there,
No.
laundromat's not allowed there. I don't think those would necessarily be. Yeah, guess what wouldn't be allowed in the business, light business that is in industrial would be things like asphalt plant, building
Yeah, I saw
supplies,
that.
distribution, junkyard, liquid fuel storage. Heavier type uses, I guess.
Mhm.
Which I don't think is necessarily bad back there. I mean, you're kind of thinking more like cleaner type.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cleaner type industry.
Chemicals, yeah, so that wouldn't be allowed, which makes sense.
No.
That's where I'm at.
Solar.
Bill, Mary,
Yes. Okay, yes.
can you see that?
That one is, the airstrip still there, so that's for the, driving concept.
Mhm.
And then the other one would be for, non-driving.
So how much room would actually be left if they move in there? What else could go in there? You know, they would have buildings of their own for
So
manufacture, correct, Eric?
this is the headquarters that would be for drones. This would be a
Okay,
hangar. And then these buildings up here, which you see here, are, here,
yeah, that would be,
are buildings available for whoever. And then this is all parking.
okay, so the drone facility would basically,
Oh, these are homes. I'm sorry.
right,
So, and that's what I was saying. The homes are bounded by parking lots. So anything beyond that would be, go to
Plainfield?
2 ones. Same concept. Except it was a bigger down here. Again, all your buildings would be away from the homes. So as far as your setbacks and stuff like that, I think they'd be protected pretty well.
so you'd be looking at parking coming in there off of 12th Street. And that's a straight line now.
Right.
You know where I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, right there, that's a straight line there. So some of this does not reflect what the changes have been made.
Right.
Not that they're dramatic, but the changes to the outline of the property.
Right.
That's where I was coming. They're not dramatic changes,
No.
but
Is the drone company still a possibility? I thought that was eliminated. When will you know which plan you're gonna design if you're hoping to start by April?
Well, like I said, it's gonna take a year to do the remediation. So,
Right.
when you put the main roads in, I think the plan pretty much is the same for both of them, so that's not gonna really be affected.
okay, so you'd still be coming in off of what's now Penn Street
Yep.
and 11th, is that 11th? Coming in from the north there,
This right here?
yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. The fire company's right here.
Okay,
So.
yeah, that would be 11th there.
Yeah,
That's coming down through where the old hut was.
but it'll,
Hut,
yes, yes. Well, actually, I think there's kind of a driveway right there, yes. Yeah, that would come down, come out down in the tank, and then back into the straight across.
okay.
Almost, I think already.
So you'd pick up Franklin at 12th and take it over into the project, but it wouldn't be a through street. It looks like it
It's
goes
cut
into
off.
a
I
cul-de-sac.
think up there, it does. I think up there it crosses in, right here, parking and then they get. But I think the main goal for Plymouth Borough is the main street, these 2 main streets, and utilities on those 2 main streets. Sewer, the stormwater management,
Correct.
electric, and an electric developer, if he wants to add those or whatever, let him do what he wants to do.
So then, what I'm asking, and I'm going to repeat what I've heard here, why are we going to sit here and make these changes when the borough doesn't know what they're doing with it yet? You know, if they're going to sell this to a developer, and as an entire project, we're going to go through here and make changes that may not complement what they want to do. You know, right now it's zone like business. And your setbacks and things for light business, you know, why do we want to change them when we don't know? Right now, for light business, it's a 5 acre minimum tract size. Minimum lot width measured at 80 feet. Front yard setback 30 feet, rear yard 25 foot, side yard 25 foot, 40% maximum building coverage, 85% maximum impervious coverage.
So that's what the McGinnis study was saying,
Right.
bullet point 2, maximum lot coverage requirements which combine building and total impervious coverage percentages can often result in unintended consequences, especially as larger technology-driven businesses and their buildings rely less on employees. So need for less parking area and the impervious coverage is imported by the same. So they were calling attention to the big difference
Mm-hmm.
between building coverage and total lot
Total
coverage,
impervious.
which
yeah.
pretty much the rest of the impervious would be parking lots. So, so they're saying up the building coverage amount too.
Mhm.
Might as well get as much building space out of it as you can.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So that could be a simple change that makes it more marketable too, to look at in the meantime. You don't want to get too, I agree with what you're saying, is you don't want to get too weird with the setbacks and things that are very specifically to how the buildings are laid
Right.
out. But if the study says up the building percentage area so that, you know, companies that may need more building and less parking, they can build their thing.
Be more
I mean,
attractive.
I think it's a fair consideration. Did it come up at the meeting about buffering with the residential people?
No, no,
Okay.
there was nothing about that came up.
Is that in there? That is one thing I think you'd want to make for sure, but it probably
No.
was in it already. Somebody would have to have a screen or a buffer between a
Mhm.
residential district.
Because I think even with the parking being the buffer to the residential, you'd still need something to prevent the light overflow, something to prevent the,
Yeah. So are the parking lot requirements in the zoning ordinance too? So they'll have like screening or lighting
Well,
requirements?
Isn't parking more under the Saldo?
I am not
Buffering?
sure.
Okay.
What would you,
40 and 85. 45 and 80. 40 and 85.
and how would we determine what would be an appropriate increase to
Isn't that nice
those,
if they told us that? in
to
the study,
those
wouldn't it?
figures?
Yes.
You know, do we need to look at some other municipalities?
Was that designed to what the zoning ordinance says? Do you know, does it say on there, Paula?
I would assume so. I can't answer that with certainty, but
So would we want to look at tackling the second, third, and fourth bullet points?
It sounds like third, no deal.
No deal.
Council was firm on that.
Right, that they do not want residential. So since
So
there
that's
is
good.
not currently residential, there's no need to make any change there.
And I understand what they mean by parking as a principal use. Probably run into that a few times, the zoning hearing board. Did the church have to go to the zoning hearing board when they took down that house, built the parking lot? You know, that sort of thing?
Um,
The one next to the school itself,
Yeah.
I think they did.
But the extension of the parking for the high rise definitely came to zoning.
Right,
Got it.
right. For
And I think
St.
that was one
Peter's,
of them.
Yeah,
The parking
that
lot
is
as
a principal use, yes, they did have to do the same.
So what this is saying, so like in the business park, the way it's laid out, let's just say that the way that the lots were created or the streets went through, there was a lot and a company needed more parking, they would have to go to the zoning hearing board for variance and not be permitted to do that. It can't be its own thing on a lot. So this recommendation is saying to allow that because it might add some,
Within that,
like
Area.
business. So that's a question, I guess, for whether that matters to council or not. Whether you just cross
so
that
Eric,
bridge.
do you think that matters to council if we'd allow that as a principal use?
Parking,
Parking,
yes, I think that's fine. But we don't know what's going to win that.
yeah,
Mary, if I'm looking at this chart here, and under zoning district non-residential light business, it says that there's no permitted use for warehousing. I would.
which
can-
page are you?
I'm on
It's towards the back.
count the first page, 1,
Third from the back, fourth from the back.
3, 4, 5, page 7. All the way down to the bottom. Non-permitted use warehousing. I would think that any major business coming in,
Oh, yeah,
whether it be a drone business or any kind of a business, is going to need major warehousing.
right.
So we're saying that you can't have warehousing as a permitted use in light business. So I'm a little confused as to how we could have any major manufacturing company come into that complex and have warehouses, unless warehouses is defined differently by our borough.
Would that be just a
Standalone warehouse as opposed
So like an
to,
industry could have some warehouse space as part of their thing.
But you can have,
Right.
you can have an industry such as the drone, they could have their building where the workers are, they're taking phone calls, et cetera, like that, but then you have multiple warehouses throughout the industrial complex, but this is stating that
Does mean-
warehouses are not permitted. It's not special exception, it's not permitted.
It's not permitted.
Not permitted.
Would
Is
that,
if it's accessory, so like the businesses that make drones, they could have warehouses as accessory,
Inside.
but not just a standalone. It's like the parking lot.
does a standalone warehouse has truck bays as well?
Yeah, I guess a different context, right? A lot of stuff going into that.
So it would need to be attached and part of their primary business or production center.
Maybe on the same lot or something like
I also
a
noticed
building,
that.
It's a good
a
point.
building or group of buildings primarily used for indoor storage, transfer, and distribution of products and materials, but not including retail uses or a truck terminal unless such uses are specifically permitted. So primarily used for indoor storage. So a warehouse that's used as part of a manufacturing facility
is okay.
I feel would not fall into that.
Because of turning, excuse me, turning over the product in it, would
Mm-hmm.
it be primarily storage? Is that why?
That's what I would think.
Just, is there a definition for manufacturing in there?
But I mean, if you're turning over product, say for the drone business or any other business,
Or so with the storage?
any warehouse is going to be storing product
No.
to be turned over at some point. You're not just going to be perpetually storing
There's
product.
no definition of manufacturing.
Anybody hear me?
We
Yes.
go from lot.
I agree.
to massage parlor.
It's a sticky point, but like Tiffany
Yeah.
pointed out, this is for companies that will be turning over product, say for retail
Ideally.
use. However, a standalone warehouse is going to be storing product for turnover at some point. And also I wanted to point out that council said that they don't want any kind of residential, but in our permitted useful life business, we're allowing group daycare homes, family daycare homes. Are they also not permitted? Because those are
Children.
residential buildings as well.
Place of worship,
Oh, okay, under institutional, gotcha.
school.
I mean, we could really like start pulling teeth here if we really start. It's just like down by the river, we had like almost no use for the people that wanted to come in and until we made changes.
Right.
And I think that's the fact, like, I don't think you want to make it too restrictive, but have minimal requirements. In other words, you don't want most residents. Well,
But would that also include group daycare homes and family daycare homes? It also says that we could put in a public pool as well.
okay, so no, you don't want to for that. But as far as the group daycare and stuff out there, that may be a special exception because businesses may want to
Right. Offer that
offer that.
on site.
And they do, they just have to come and get a special exception.
Oh, it's permitted.
It's permitted already.
It's permitted.
They won't have to. get a
Nursing home
special
is too.
exception.
But aren't you writing into industrial?
Yeah, light business.
Yeah, there's already a district that the
Pretty much.
airport is in, yeah. It's the only place that it's in.
I mean, I
like
would-
business,
I would
yeah.
think in order for us to move forward, we would need for council to look over this chart and kind of pick through every single item and say, we're not going to permit this. Even though it's permittable, as a council, we're not going to permit this. I don't know how we move forward with plans. And you're saying that whoever comes up with the most amount of money, we're selling it to. And this could be some multimillionaire that comes in and wants to build a complex, and we're going to tell him, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. We have to have some kind of an idea. We have all these different permissions, but we don't know what's in the heads of the 7 people who are sitting on your council.
But if you have 7, I'll show you 7 range. You as a body, you need to determine,
And make these
make
recommendations.
a recommendation.
Right, but we could spend, I mean, years ago, we made, I can't think off the top of my head, and it would be more helpful
I
for
think
me.
that having its own, it's very,
Zoning
Zoning
district.
district.
Yep.
Right.
it's so that you can make it whatever you want it to be.
Right.
You can limit. You can say, there's no restaurants. You can say, there's no churches. You can say whatever you want to say, and say here. And then make everything else special exception. And if somebody wants to make differences, they can come to zoning and pay to have it changed. Let them go to zoning. But make it the way you want it, or the way you envision an industrial park. what's gonna get us the biggest return on our dollar, and that's what we're looking for. With keeping
Probably
neighbors
the
in
other
mind.
plan with more
Justin, is there
buildings on.
for industrial parks, you're in the township, are there specific guidelines for industrial parks?
Can't you improve the list of your primary uses? Okay, this is kind of like a flexible development. Your primary uses, and then come back with a list of accessory uses. You ever seen that, Justin? Where you talk about accessory uses, you can have a warehouse for your parks. You
Sure.
can have a daycare. You can list those accessory uses that don't require a special exception. They're permitted as an accessory use. So you have your primary use is
Yeah.
your building, your industrial
Your
building.
manufacturing
Your
or
manufacturing,
industrial?
You have your accessory uses that go along with it. You can come out with them uses, you don't have to do all that. Go back for a special exception, this or that, or anything else. And the same thing with your setbacks. You should be flexible on your setbacks. Because depending upon what the building is, I heard you say 5 acres. Well, someone may have a business they want to put in there that only requires an acre and a half. You want to put as much in there as you possibly can. If you leave that 5 acres in there, you're probably only going to end up with.
Seems like the
I would
goal,
try and have more
the
businesses.
goal would be to have like fair setbacks with the residential properties on the exterior, buffering and good setbacks there. District itself within the business park, if the business that's on one side of a sideline and a business that's on the other side of the property line, they don't necessarily need to be 30 or 50 feet. They could be smaller if the owners wanted them to be, because it's business by business versus business by the residential. That would make more sense to add flexibility within the park and still
Yeah,
protect the
You're
residents.
absolutely right. You should buffer your business, between the business and the residential area.
Mhm.
You should buffer that. But then,
Yeah.
within the
Within
business
that.
part,
Yep.
let it be flexible.
Exactly. I
Leo,
think
the
that makes
others-
sense.
The other part of that minimum lot, 5 acre minimum tract site, which may be subdivided, square foot minimum lots.
Okay. Well, that's
So
pretty small.
there's another piece there, 5 acres.
And the other thing
Well,
is,
why would you do that?
you
Why
just,
would you make someone buy 5 acres and then
Right.
they go through the pain of subdividing?
right.
That might be a deal breaker to a business.
Mhm. So the thing is, do we even get into minimum size
I don't
lots?
think you should have a minimum, there shouldn't be a minimum lot size.
Okay. That makes sense. So we do some more research on this? Look at this,
Yeah.
come back next month with specifics.
The tough part is nobody really knows. I mean, that's the
What they
ideal.
want.
Nobody knows what the users are going to be like, because I can say, the people that are looking at building like a flex space, 300,000 square foot building for multi-tenants, with warehousing space in the back, business in the front, sales, whatever, they can outfit it however they want. That may look different than, something where they're assembling, manufacturing, testing. I mean, the drone deal makes a difference, but they did a good job at designing it so it only changes part of it. It's not in the middle. But if the borough just wants to sell it and somebody says, yeah, we're going to go in and do X, they may have different requirements than somebody who's building flexible space to meet general tenants. That's the toughest part. But some of these things are no-brainers, like trying to protect the residents that live around it. We want to make sure that's in the zoning ordinance, that there's a good buffer. But some of these things like increasing the building coverage, I don't know, makes sense. It adds
Mhm.
flexibility, the lot size thing. You know, I wonder what the reason behind the 5 acres is, but you know,
That
it needs to be
was,
less.
yeah, that was in the original
Mary, I have a question.
zoning.
Wasn't this, can't think of the right words. It's no longer zoned to be an airport.
Correct.
Okay, so in order for a drone strip to be there, a drone is not allowed to go above 400 feet without it being regulated by the Aviation Administration. So I'm wondering how, if the borough's working with this potential ownership of a drone company with this strip, and then rezoning this so that they can fly. I mean, this is not going to be little miniature tiny drones, or personal drones, right? So this would have to be rezoned, this whole airstrip, in order for them to fly above a certain amount of feet.
Yeah, you're
I
talking.
believe it's 400 feet,
You're talking airspace.
correct?
Yeah, but we would have to redo the airport overlay, right, again?
Only if it's an airport.
Only if
If
it's
they-
an airport, and
Right, but you have,
If
Because
there's-
the
if
FAA
there's
would
a
require
large
that.
enough-
if
right.
they're not flying these off of that,
that's what the airstrip would be for.
That's where they
For
test.
testing of
Right,
and flying
right.
off of.
They're not leaving that space.
so that's.
Well, they would know.
But if,
Yeah,
We would have to know
but the thing is, if they're just flying that airstrip
the only way you're gonna know if
and
it
not
works.
actually going out of that area,
that, or higher. We
Or
would
higher.
have to know.
Are the streets on the official map? Is that it?
no,
Okay.
there are no streets. That's our other project, the official map.
So if the borough just sells it before the
You
infrastructure's
gotta
in,
get your streets in
and
first.
you want streets like that, it better be on the official map, otherwise they don't have to respect the drawing. So that's just more of a policy. If you just wanted to do whatever,
We, under the buyer's plan, we have to put the infrastructure in. So the streets will be. there.
okay, got it,
Okay,
got it. Good.
Streets, utilities will be there.
Okay, so you do have that obligation.
Yes. Now, if there's a offshoot of one of those streets that you want to put in for two different buildings, and have a street in between, that'd be on the zone.
Gotcha.
Our main roads, we put in by us.
The two main roads in that
Three.
extension,
yeah,
got it.
10, 11th and Franklin,
Okay, well, that's good.
okay. You know, going back through all those minutes of planning commission, this has been a subject since the borough bought that property.
Mhm.
And all I keep saying in the minutes is information to be provided,
Clarification, right,
information to be provided, to be discussed.
right.
So, till next meeting, look through these tables. If you want to do some research, like on industrial parks, see what kind of setbacks and stuff they're doing there. And I think the fact that we're looking at primary use being manufacturing, and then do you have secondary use? Do you allow daycare? Do you allow a restaurant or a coffee shop or something like that to go in to accommodate workers, you know? Look over your uses here and put it together. And the thing is, if you have it ahead of time, if you could share it, and then we could all have it ahead of time to look at. And not just come in here next month at 6 o'clock and start passing papers around or what have you. Are we good with that for now?
Yep.
Yes.
And as far as the other changes we were looking at, from the 17 getting down to 7, that's still there on the stove. Okay. All right, good discussion, very good discussion. Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the January 21st work session of Columbia Borough Council.
So
Columbia Planning Commission. Do I have such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion from Tiff. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Justin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7 o'clock. Next.